about you that I didn't want to know. You looked me right in the eye and then you placed your head on my shoulder. This position that you put me in, you're on a mission to take my world from around me. Wide awake, I worry my brain. Turn over, turn over, turn over. Waiting, anticipating. Girl, come on, make up your mind. Night of passion became a nightmare. When the flood arrived, I realized what a fool I've been. You don't even know me, so how could you love me? Let alone care for this someone, a stranger. Forget about the life that I dreamed of. Turn over, turn over, turn over. Waiting, anticipating. Girl, come on, make up your mind. Repercussions and consequences. Should've known better. Wish I never met her. True to the letter, I'll never forget her. Waiting, anticipating. Girl, come on, make up your mind.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live stream Saturday. I hope that your weekend has started well, and we are really busy this month and just setting up this live stream. As you guys will know, I did set it up a little bit late as I only did it this afternoon. It always tends to happen when I'm over on Patreon. I do an update, and after I've finished typing the update and uploaded that and people read it, I then say I'm going to go and set up the live stream. But then I start checking the messages over on Patreon, and therefore one thing leads to another and I totally forget to set up the live stream. But we did just about get there this afternoon. So we are live, and it has been a busy few days, as you guys will know. With Steve Stevens, we were due to talk on Wednesday night, but I mean, amazingly, it is about 22 degrees, or at least it was here in the UK, which is a bit strange for it to be this warm, but hence why the hoodie is off, just in the t-shirt tonight. But talking about the heat, over in Las Vegas, where Steve is, he was all set up ready to go, and his air conditioning then stopped working. But over in Las Vegas, because it's in the desert, it's slightly hotter than it is here in the UK, and he was like around 100 degrees, something crazy like that. So it meant that he couldn't do the video, or couldn't do the interview, the meetup that we had already planned for Wednesday night. So we did that last night. Everything was fine last night, and he's got his air conditioning fixed, which is great. And we spoke for about an hour and a half, and I'm going to edit that video together and let you guys know exactly when I'm going to be releasing that. But it's great to talk with Steve, and He's such a nice guy, so down to earth, and it was great to be able to pick his brains about playing in general, and some great things that he was mentioning about getting into playing guitar solos and things to focus on and how to move on with your playing and all these kinds of things. So I will edit that all together in a video, and Steve has said that he would like to come on the channel again in the future at some point. Of course, he is more than welcome. And then later this year, I believe in October, himself and Billy are going to be coming to the UK for part of their tour, and they're going to be playing at Wembley Arena, and he's invited me down to meet in person, but to check out the gig as well. So that's going to be great. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and hit that notification bell, because all of this extra stuff that's going to be going on later in the year, you might not get notified about. If I'm making videos about that particular event, going down there, taking some pictures, maybe doing a video with Steve and getting Billy in the video as well, it's going to be great later on in the year. So just exciting times ahead on the channel. But let me get you guys up on screen, because let's see who's in the live chat room tonight. We have Tammy and Corey and Frank and Bev, Anna, Howard's in there, Lisa, Neil, Shawnee Key, Billy, Charlie, Deborah, Kevin is going through there, Scott as well with a little donation going through there. I will address all of these donations as I always do in the live streams before the end of the live stream, but we do tend to get through them one by one. But that is the live chat room up on screen. Let's get organized and get my patrons up on screen as well, because they make this possible in the first place, this live stream, every single video that I do on the channel. Therefore, any interview or meet up with musicians such as Steve Stevens, like we had yesterday, and Phil Palmer, that had a little bit of time with Buck Dharma as well, Frank Marino, which was probably a few years ago now. But all of these different things that you guys have enabled me to do, thank you so much for all of your support over on patreon.com/Wings of Pegasus if you guys want to get involved yourselves. But I always say it is the foundation of everything that I do over there. If I wasn't on YouTube, then I would just hop over to Patreon and spend all my time doing the videos over there. So moving on tonight, I know that the likes goal is absolutely huge and probably the biggest one that we've ever attempted. So let me get that on screen to see where we're at. And it is 385 likes. That's what we're aiming for tonight in order to have a pick roulette next week. So we're going to be looking for every single thumbs up. If you can leave a thumbs up as you come through the door, that would be massively appreciated to get us a little bit closer to that total. And interestingly, I can see in the background that we have the gem hanging up on the wall, because I had my guitar out with Steve. He had his guitar out, just demonstrating a few things. So I'm really looking forward to editing that video together and getting it on the channel for you guys to be able to see. But I do have my Fender Strat just here. It's being a little bit hidden, but it's just, hopefully it won't fall over, because it's just standing resting up against the table, because I might need to find another space on the wall to hang up the Fender Strat as well. At the moment, the Strat and the gem are taking it in turns being on the wall, but I did have the gem out for that video last night. Anyway, we are organised on screen apart from the live likes, which we haven't had a look at that likeometer yet. We are at 177 so far, so we've made a little bit of a dent in that 385 total that we're looking for. But we always stream for about an hour and a quarter, so it means that we've got just over an hour left to get all of these likes in to have a pick roulette next week. So let me just quickly jump into the donations, and while I do that, let me get the donations tab up on screen so you don't have to donate, but if you feel like you can't resist the urge, then just so you know, the percentage split between 35 and 45% goes to YouTube, and between 3 and 5% goes to PayPal through the PayPal link. And you can find that link in the description below if you want to do it that way, but it's totally up to you. But I think it's important that you know exactly which percentages go where. So that is on screen. We are going to be taking a look at the donations that disappear when we go live, because there were a few of those before we started. Paul donated $5. Thank you for that, Paul. And the message was, spike the likes, all y'all. Orlando's back up. I will be on the catch-up crew. Hooray for 262,000. Everyone have fun tonight, with some smiley faces. Thank you for that, Paul. And something else that I was going to mention at the beginning of the live stream, but I didn't quite get there yet. And this was that we have reached 262,000 subscribers, as Paul said in that comment. So thank you everyone for subscribing and hitting that thumbs up, all of that cool stuff. Let me see if this works. We can hear the cheers going off in the background. There we have it, 262,000 subscribers, amazing. But as I always say, we'll keep on pushing forward and just see where we end up. Certainly 262,000 is more than enough for me, but we'll keep on going, and it's great that you guys join me on the live streams as well, just to actually touch base with you guys in a live setting, rather than just in the comment section of the YouTube videos, which I do check all of the comments and I read all of them as well. Let me get rid of that. Actually, if I start up the cheering again, then when I get rid of it, everything stops, which is good. So I check all of the comments and read them. Unfortunately, on YouTube Studio, sometimes it doesn't register the thumbs up and the heart that I click in order to show where I've read to, and to let everybody know that I have read their comment. And the replies do stay there, but then the thumbs up and the heart thing just disappears. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. Sometimes it works on the tablet, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it works on the phone, sometimes it doesn't. So I do try, I try to keep up with everything, which I do, but then when things start going wrong like that and it's just the app that isn't working, then unfortunately there might be a few thumbs up and hearts that have been missed, but I have read all of the comments. I do go through all of those every single day. So hopefully, I kind of just take it for granted that you can hear me and you can see me. The levels on the mic seem fine. The picture seems fine as well. The connection is fine. So fingers crossed that is all right. Quick mention as well that over on Patreon, I did an update on Monday, I believe, or it might have been Thursday night. I think it was Thursday night, because I was mentioning about the new speakers that I'd got for my setup here and the new microphone as well. I got a Rode NT1 mic that I was just going to use to mic up my amp so that I could use my Fender amp and my Line 6 amp at the same time and just switch between them with my interface rather than having to physically move a mic around all the time. The bad news is that I have a faulty mic. It doesn't work. It is dead as a dodo. So it's a bit of a shame. It requires phantom power, which I have, of course, on my interface, but it is absolutely dead. And then as soon as you plug another mic in, it is fine, so every other mic works. It's just that one. So I'm gonna have to send that back, which is a bit annoying. The only thing, the only positive thing that came from that is I found another Shure microphone. I had a dynamic mic somewhere in my drawer in my desk here. So I, got that out. I think it was maybe a PG57 or something like that. I can't remember, but it meant that, it's battery operated, so that was a bit of a pain that the battery had run out on that, but I did have one spare battery, which I put in there, amped up my mic, mic'd up my amp even, and it did work, which was great. So it meant that when I had the chat with Steve last night, I could use my Line 6 amp and then change to my Fender if I needed to, but I just used the Line 6 amp for the whole thing, so that was great. So it all worked in the correct order, even though I didn't say everything quite in the right order. Amping up my mic. Interesting. So I guess technically if I'm putting my mic into the amp, then that'll work, but I'm sure you all knew what I meant. We have so many things going on at the moment. We have the Chris Lipe video as well, and that's going to be released in 2 parts. I've edited those together, but unfortunately because of the copyright claims, which are still ongoing, and YouTube say that you have to wait for it to be reviewed by the owners of the copyright, but they obviously don't actually look at any videos. They just wait for 30 days, and beyond that 30 days, the video is then allowed to be released without any restrictions on YouTube. So I think I'm just going to have to wait for those 30 days, and we're probably about 14 or 15 days maybe into it. So I'm still waiting to release that Chris Lipe video. But I mean, it might be the case that I can release the video because any money, any ad revenue that's made from those videos, anything that's currently being disputed on a copyright claim, or just basically with copyrights, anything that's in dispute means that any ad revenue from a video gets withheld. So it means that you can't make money from it, and if you're well within your rights to claim the dispute and have that copyright claim removed from your video, then it means that you will then get the ad revenue yourself. So it's just held by YouTube until those 30 days are over. So it might be the case that I can release part 1 of that video without having to wait for the 30 days. So that might be something that I can do actually tomorrow. What I'm going to do is message Chris and just chat to him, because it might be possible for me to release it, and we'll just wait for those 30 days to just run out, and then if it does run out, that's great. It means that it will just be up on the channel, but I'm not making anything from that as soon as it's uploaded, because YouTube hold it until the end of the dispute. So it might be something that I can release at least part 1 a little bit earlier, because we're going to have the Chris Lipe collaboration analysis that we did on Led Zeppelin part 1. There's going to be another video of that, part 2. There's going to be the Steve Stevens video, which we spoke for an hour and a half. So there's loads of stuff in there. It might be more than one video, it could be 2 or 3 videos, so I have to edit those together. So unfortunately, with the copyright claims, it just means that there starts to be a bit of a backlog of videos. So there might be kind of 4 or 5 that I haven't yet released because I'm waiting for the copyright claims to be sorted out. And I can only claim on 2 at a time, just in case. Because if I claim on 3 at a time, or dispute 3, and they all come back negatively and I get 3 strikes, then the channel is deleted. So it means that I won't be here anymore, and I think that's a little bit too risky to go for it like that, all guns blazing. So I'm just going to do 2 at a time and just see how that works out. Anyway, I'm going to jump back into those donations. Thank you, Paul, for that one. And Jennifer donated $5 as well. Thank you for that, Jennifer. And the message is, Phil, 2-part question. Have just found out about a music death clause in US. Does UK also have one of these? So thank you for that, Jennifer. And let me just do the second part, because there's another donation for $5. So thank you again for that, Jennifer. The message is part 2. How long does the payments to producers go on for a death clause? Does that also include royalty rights to artists and their catalogs? So thank you for that. Now, death clauses, I mean, I'm going to assume, I don't know a lot about this, but I'm just going to take the common sense approach that when you sign a recording contract, the contract, say it's for $500,000, that $500,000 is a loan. So it's like going to a bank. So just imagine the record company, the record label are a bank. So they give you $500,000 to record an album, to film videos, to do promotions, to go on tour, in the hopes that they're going to make back more than $500,000. That's the way that it works. And the artist doesn't get paid anything until they've paid back that $500,000. In some cases, there will be an artist that they spend that amount of money on, and the artist doesn't make back the amount of money that they actually shelled out on the artist. So it means that the artist now owes like a bank. So if you imagine that you borrow £500,000 from a bank and then you die, the bank aren't going to say, because you died, don't worry about that $500,000 that we've lent to you. Of course, they're going to start chasing you, or not you, because you're not here anymore, but they're going to start chasing your family and any potential person that was close to you or might have legal guardianship. If you're quite young, they might start going to your parents, all that kind of stuff, but they are going to try and find the rest of their money from somewhere. It might be the case, if you are young, that your legal guardians might have a house, and that house might be worth more than $500,000, so therefore the record label will go after them in order to get their money back. So it is a loan. Just think of the record label like a bank, and it starts to make a little bit more sense. So if a singer or musician sign a recording contract and then they die, again, I'm just kind of trying to see this from a common sense perspective. I haven't really looked into it, but if they die, it means that the record label is now, pretty much, up against it, just without a paddle, up a creek, so to speak. And they've got that amount of money that they need to make back. So if that person dies, they will have that clause in there to make sure that they make their money back. And if it's a case that the person has died before making that money back, then of course the recording contract will have in there that they will take all of the royalties and all of the profits, all of the sales in iTunes, all the download sites. They'll take all of the profits until they break even with that $500,000. They might even write into the contract that there's a percentage more than they lend out, which tends to be the case anyway with banks, that you have that loan at a percentage rate. So they might say, they might even say, we want to make back $750,000 before we will then release the rights to the music, back to the legal guardians or the estate effectively of the person who has died, the then loved ones and family who then take over those rights. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. That, when you mention about, how long did the payments go to the producers? Producers pretty much are just part of the wheel. It's the record company that take the money, and producers aren't really the people that take all the money. They are employed by the record labels, so they will have a set fee, and generally that fee is quite high. So they can be having anywhere to 100,000, even more dollars for just recording an album with a particular artist, and they get paid by the record label. So if the producer hasn't been paid, so say for example you've done your album and everything and then the artist dies, then that producer still needs paying, and the record label need to find that money from somewhere in order to pay them. So that's why they will go after family members, and wherever they can find that money they will get it, because they are owed it. They are like a bank. They have given out that money, and it's this whole dream perspective of the recording industry in general that especially young people have, that they think it's, if you get a recording contract, that's like amazing, and all of your life's worries go away. But it's exactly the same as you getting a loan from the bank for $500,000 and you buy a house, you buy a car, and you have a really lavish lifestyle because you think, oh great, I've got $500,000, and then the bank says, yeah, but you have to pay that back, and people will say, oh, I didn't think about that. I thought just record labels just gave you money and it's for free. No such thing as that, unfortunately. So it's very important to have your eyes open when you're going into recording contracts, because you have to pay that money back. Anyway, thank you for that, Jennifer. Hopefully that's made it a little bit clearer. And like I said, I haven't really looked into it, or the nitty gritty of it all, but I'm just looking at it because it is very similar to getting a bank from a loan. The only difference is that a loan from a bank probably wouldn't be authorized at the kind of levels that you get from a recording contract. So you could argue that it's even worse if you do get a recording contract, because you will owe an amount of money that you can potentially never pay back, or you'll spend 30 or 40 years paying back to get to $500,000 as the example that I gave. Whereas a bank would say, how much do you earn? And then we will decide how much we can lend you. And that isn't something that happens with recording contracts. So you can get yourselves in a lot of trouble by signing the wrong contract and signing away your royalties and your publishing rights, all that kind of stuff. It is a very dangerous place to be going when you're talking about recording contracts. But anyway, thank you for that, Jennifer. And I think we were then up to date. That was the last donation that then disappeared before we went live. So let me just minimize that. And Orlando donated $2 as well. Thank you for that, Orlando. And Orlando says, spike the likes with lots of thumbs up. Great idea. We are at 250 likes at the moment, which is great. We are 135 away from tonight's goal, I think. I think that was right. It was just a number that came into my head, but I think 250 made it a little bit easier to work out. So if you haven't hit that thumbs up yet, it'd be massively appreciated if you could do that, because we will hit our target tonight of 385, which means we'll have a pick roulette next week. We are going to be having one of those tonight as well, so stay tuned for that. We have, I think, just one picture to look at tonight, and we're going to be having a cover video, of course. Let me draw your attention to that, because the poll for that is at the top of the chat room at the moment. It looks like Miles Away is at 52% of that vote, so that is in the lead. So, and that's by Winger, by the way. Interestingly, when I was talking to Steve last night, that was one of those bands. I was talking about Red Beach and his technique, and then Steve was mentioning about, you know, Kip Winger, and yeah, just what a great band, and just the level of technical ability that they, you know, had in Winger and have in Winger. Of course, they, you know, still get together and play, and that's the reason that I've seen them. I'd say relatively recently, but the years just fly by, so it's probably not relatively recently since I've been so busy with everything. But yeah, Steve was certainly somebody who was impressed by Winger, and just the technical ability paired with musicianship and appreciation of melody, songwriting, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we do mention that. As to how much of the chat I'll be able to edit into one video, I'm not sure. So like I said, I might do a few parts of that chat with Steve Stevens from last night. Right, so thank you for the donation, Orlando. Stardust Unicorn donated $1.49 in that super chat window as well. There's a picture of a unicorn, of course. Thank you for that. Support band to Wings of Pegasus, as I always say. And Scott has donated $5 as well. Thank you for that, Scott. And the message is support from across the pond. So thank you for that. Stan has donated $5 as well. And the message is, hello, Phil and Wingers. I think your Cyndi Lauper analysis is this year's best so far. Good form. So thank you for that, Stan. And that's another thing about in the comment sections of all of the videos. It's interesting to see how some people say, oh, this is your best ever analysis, or this is your best analysis, and it tends to jump all over the place from one to the other. I mean, which is great, because it means that different people get different things out of the videos. It's not just the same thing that you're going to get from every video. And of course, because we're looking at lots of different artists, there's always going to be something different that we can spot about the great, you know, musicians, singers. We've been looking at vocalists recently as well, but hopefully, fingers crossed, in the future I can start to get the guitar out a little bit more, because I was playing yesterday with Steve, and it's still feeling okay. My arm at the moment, it seems to be fine, so fingers crossed. Again, I'm just going to leave everything, just not do any exercise, hopefully get even more atrophy going on rather than hypertrophy. Hypertrophy is when you build muscle, and atrophy is when you lose muscle. So hopefully I'm going to, yeah, continue to lose muscle to decrease the tension on my tendon, because it all seems to be going a little bit better, to the point where now I can play the guitar. So more guitar in future videos, which will be good. Right, Jennifer donated again, I believe, in the super chat window, and it was $5. So thank you for that, Jennifer, again. And the message is, thank you. You explained it okay. Is that maybe why so many named artists are dumping their song catalogues to avoid someone else taking from families? So thank you for that. again, and it might be the case that if you've signed multiple recording contracts, or you've signed a deal with a record label that's in the multiple millions, say that you sign a £5 million recording contract with a record label, you owe £5 million or $5 million, depending on where you are. But if you then don't sell, I mean, you can be a very successful artist but still not pay back that original loan. So if your music is selling well and you're getting a lot of royalties from it, and the record label say, right, you owe us this amount of money and you've got until this time to pay us back, then they might say, okay, I'm going to sign over X amount, or give you my publishing rights to X amount of songs, and that will pay back. You can use that to pay back the loan, and I can then be free and just make the money from the other songs that they might have. They might be in the unfortunate situation where they might only have one hit, or 2 hits, so they've only got a couple of songs that are making money, but the bank effectively of the record label are now demanding this money by a certain date. And of course, you won't want your family to be targeted. If you haven't got the money, they might bankrupt your parents or your sister or your brother, so they might sign over those publishing rights just to get that off their back and hope that the songs that they wrote make that money. Because if it still doesn't make the money, then they will still come after you for the remainder in order to level those books. So that could be it. I think more so the case with the really well-known artists. They are selling their catalogs because they just want a flat out fee for now. They might sell it for $5 million or $10 million, so they get that money in their bank, and it's like a game show. It is safe. They have that money. So if their songs become less popular, which very rarely happens, but if their songs become less popular in the future, they've made the money, and they might feel like now's a good time to do this deal because they might not get that amount of money in the future. But generally with the big artists, you can make a lot of money, and they do make a lot of money from their publishing rights and the royalties that go with those. So for me, I mean, having those publishing rights means it's a constant income. As soon as you sign those away, you've now got a lump sum, but you can spend that money and no more is going to come in. Whereas if you can have the patience, and I'm just one of these people that believes in just not living outside your means. Just, I wouldn't necessarily, need a big house, as long as I've got a room to sleep in and a room to do recording in, and maybe have a studio. Just 3 rooms, and obviously maybe a kitchen. But having just a setup that you can work in is great, and having that constant income, as long as you're not being really lavish with everything, then you'll be able to live for your whole life quite comfortably. And the great thing is that will get followed on, that will continue to future generations if there are any, and then they will have a constant income from those royalties as well. So everybody's situation is different, and some people just sign for that one payment because they need it in their lives at that point. So it's all situation specific. But anyway, thank you again for that, Jennifer. And Nick has donated $5 as well, so thank you for that, Nick. And the message is, Phil, can you explain the software that uses artificial intelligence to isolate a particular vocal? Seems like back in the day was done with Equalizer. So thank you for that, Nick. And I mean, this is not really my area of expertise, but I know a little bit about it just from chatting with the guys from Moises, and I'm going to be doing a collaboration video with them this month. Just checking my watch because it's the 12th, so it means that will be probably within the next 2 weeks, so I will be getting moving on that very quickly. I did say it's going to be a busy month this month, but yes, so the isolating process that you have nowadays, it's not an EQ thing. So with EQ, if people don't know about EQ, basically in your EQ curve that you might have, or just taking it out of looking at an EQ curve, just EQ every noise. I'm just thinking, if people don't even know what EQ is, this isn't going to make sense. But every noise has is a frequency, and the higher that frequency is, the higher the note is effectively of that noise, all the way up to, like white noise and, really piercing noises, and even noises that you can't hear because the frequency is so high. And those are things that dogs can hear but humans can't hear. And as soon as you bring them down within the range of human hearing, then you can start to hear those notes. So if you have just a tone that is playing at a particular frequency, this is where, when I talk about 440 hertz tuning, the A4 on a piano is 440 hertz. That is the frequency that makes that note. So if you make that note lower, then you go down. If you are making tuning, I'm starting to make this complicated, but if you make, say, for example, you tune to 436 hertz, that A note, the A4, is now not where it was. It's now a bit lower. So now everything that you're playing, in the band too, if you're all tuned to 436 hertz, your instruments will be slightly lower. And 440 will be slightly higher. 446 will be even higher as a tuning standard. The standard is 440 hertz. But anyway, so that is where A4 is. That's just the note. So if you take the notes really high up, you're not talking about, being really strict. You can go up in a really smooth line rather than semitones, which are 100 cents as you go up. But anyway, just think of it as every noise you're making is a frequency, all the way up to a hi-hat and a crash on a drum kit. Those are frequencies that are a lot higher. You can get up to 15,000 or 10 to 15,000 hertz. And if you think about where we started, 440 hertz being A4, you can imagine that those crashes, the high frequencies that hurt your ears, they're really high frequencies. They do damage to your ears because they are so intense. Effectively, that's what's happening. And bass frequencies are very slow, and obviously seeing the waves of the frequencies, we're not going to get into that, but you can imagine that the high frequencies are really fast. There's loads of energy in them. That's why they can damage your ears. But anyway, so getting back to the question about isolating vocals, all that kind of stuff, when you're trying to make a vocal stand out a little bit more, you boost the frequency where the vocal is. So you might have a vocal that sits at about 700 hertz maybe, and you just boost that area around 700 hertz to make the vocal stand out a bit more, but it's not isolating it, it's just making it stand out. So you're boosting that frequency where that voice is, in exactly the same way that if you want to get the bass to stand out more, then you'll boost the frequencies down at the bottom end. It might be even 100 hertz or 120 hertz, where you might find a sweet spot and you think, oh, that's going to make the bass stand out a little bit more, because you're boosting those frequencies where that instrument is. So imagine that every instrument is sitting in a different place and you're boosting those frequencies, but because each instrument is different but sometimes covers the same frequency. For example, if I'm playing the guitar and I'm singing along with my guitar is sitting in the same frequency as my voice. So you start to have to arrange things differently to get your voice to stand out and not to get a clash of the instruments in the mix. Anyway, we're now getting complicated, even more complicated, but let's not get into all of that. So the difference with isolating vocals and isolating instruments at the moment is it's an AI. So the AI is just listening to a song, and it's been programmed to try and listen for something that sounds the same all the way through the song. And to begin with, it will start to pick out, say for example, the drums or just the snare of the drums, and it will say, right, this is what I can hear, and it will just hear the snare. And the longer you leave the AI processing songs, and loads of songs, hundreds, thousands, potentially even millions of songs, it starts to recognize what a voice sounds like rather than an instrument, and what a guitar sounds like. So it can start to pick out just that part of the song. It's really impressive that it can work that out, but we are talking about just leaving a computer, listening to songs for days on end, and it is just learning a little bit more each time. And this is why I'm going to mention in the Moises app video that they are going to be improving the app all the time, because the computer is literally left on constantly analyzing songs, so it's getting better all the time at isolating vocals, isolating harmony vocals, which is something that at the moment it's still learning how to separate the notes of the voices and the separate voices rather than just being able to hear the human voice. So it's interesting that the computer learns at a very slow rate, but it is always learning, literally just leaving that computer on, analyzing it all the time, and it's getting better at it literally every second of every day. So that's how it works. It's not EQ, it's a totally different process. But like I said, it's not my area of expertise, but I just know a little bit about it. Thank you for that, Nick. And Stardust Unicorn has donated $1.49 again. Thank you for that. And it looks like popcorn. Something like that is quite small on my screen, but I'm going to go with popcorn because it looks like it's in a carrier that you get from the cinema. Anyway, thank you for that. Right, we are going to try and keep things organised on tonight's live stream. It's almost 1:45 in the morning, which is crazy. So let me get into the donations over on PayPal, and then we're going to be jumping into the cover, which I can see is 50% for Miles Away. So it is really close. Keep voting or for tonight's cover video, because that could change. There's got to be point something of a percent in it. But let me get the PayPal donations up on screen, because Deborah donated £12.62, and this was earlier this evening, so thank you for that, Deborah. And the message was, you rock, 262,000 subscribers, so thank you for that, Deborah. And I'm just going to scroll up because Tammy donated £10 as well. Thank you for that, Tammy. And the message is, hi Phil, what would you do differently if you were to start over again from day one? Congrats on hitting 262,000 subs. Rock. So thank you for that, Tammy. I'll try and answer this quickly, but I think if I was to do everything all over again, I mean, it would be a totally different end location, because I mean what I've done has got me here. I would probably, I'd have to go back and I'd have to do all of the stuff that I did, such as the gigs, all of the teaching that I did, from the age of 23 onwards. I'd have to go through all of that to attune my ear, get better at teaching, get better at explaining things to people so that people knew how to improve their playing and their appreciation of what they're hearing. So all of the things that I've done have made me end up where I am. So I don't think I'd really change anything apart from probably make the move from playing live to then concentrating online. I'd probably make that move a little bit earlier. That's the one thing that I would change, because playing live in the UK, you don't get any money because it's all pay to play, so you have to pay to play at venues. And it was a bit of a slog, just doing it night after night, not getting paid, and having to lift your gear down to ridiculous venues, down ridiculously tight staircases, all that kind of stuff. And there's a fair amount of frustration in there, just not really getting anywhere, going, to see DJs, all that kind of stuff. I'd probably make that transition probably 5 years earlier than I did. But again, another interesting thing is I saw on a show that we have here in the UK called The One Show yesterday, they were saying about how musicians are now, since being in isolation during COVID and being in lockdown, they've realized that they can now go online and release their music that way and do covers and upload it to YouTube and have a Patreon page, for example. And people have now realized that they can do that because of COVID, whereas I think a few people like myself had latched onto that before COVID. I realized that actually online is the place to be, because then you can reach people like now. Literally, I'm talking to you across the screen, live streaming to wherever you are in the world. And yeah, I'm in England at the moment and it's 1:45 in the morning, but we can interact in a live setting. And people, a lot of musicians didn't really realize that that was an option until they went into lockdown and had to do it, had to find a different way of doing it. And I'm sure a lot of musicians here in the UK, which this program focused on, they said about them not going out and playing live, but just releasing videos and live streaming on the internet. And it was interesting because here in the UK, nobody really knows. I would say that I'm pretty much flying under the radar of the whole of the country, because the people that this was on the BBC, on national TV, and the people that they focused on, they said sometimes they get up to 200 people in a live stream, and they were picked as like the best or one of the biggest sites and YouTube channels in the UK. And I know for a fact at the moment there's 253 of you tuning in, which is amazing. And hit that thumbs up if you do get a chance, if you haven't done that so far. But I know that I'm flying under the radar because very much on TV I see a lot of YouTube channels, YouTubers, musicians, singer-songwriters, and even music analysts who are being focused on, and they say, oh, and this channel has got 150,000 subscribers, and everyone goes, oh wow, that's amazing. But I think because I've got an audience that is spread all over the place, and not just in the UK but in the USA as well, it means that I'm flying under the radar here in the UK. So nobody's really noticed that I've got the subscribers that I have done, which is great. I'm sure that if I continue with the interviews, chatting to guys like Steve Stevens and, going down and meeting them in real life and checking them out at Wembley Arena, and having guys like Buck Dharma on the channel, chatting to him, meeting him. I mean, he invited me down to chat with him when, they were playing here in London. So, yeah, I think the more of that kind of stuff I do, maybe I'll get noticed. Maybe somebody see, hang on, they'll see that the other channels that they've highlighted are, potentially a little bit less popular than the one that I'm doing. But I think actually it's probably a good thing that at the moment I can still keep in control of everything. If I got any mainstream coverage, I think nationally here in the UK, then potentially things would just get a bit too crazy for me to be able to interact with you guys and know you on a one-to-one basis and answer all your messages on Facebook and Patreon and YouTube and my website. So yeah, it might get a bit crazy. So for me, I think at the moment it suits me that nobody's really looked in my direction in the UK on YouTube, because yeah, I'm sure that if they do, that things might get a little bit crazy. So fingers crossed. I mean, it'd be great to have loads and loads of attention and subscribers and more people watching the videos, but I think at the moment it's at a nice level where I can just about keep up with everything, which I like to do. I do like to answer all of the questions and be able to address the questions, answer them, look at the donations and the questions within the donations as well. So yeah, it just suits me at the moment. But anyway, thank you for that, Tammy. I'm just going to scroll up because Bonnie has donated £11.23. Thank you for that, Bonnie. And the message is, hi Phil, congratulations on 262,000 subscribers. Oh, let me scroll down so you guys can see this as well. The donation is in a Fibonacci sequence. Rock on, with some rock horns. So thank you for that, Bonnie. And I'm not even sure what that is apart from something to do with like the natural order of something or other. I'm not really sure what the Fibonacci sequence is. I think it's numbers in nature, something like that springs to mind, but I don't know. Anyway, thank you for that, Bonnie. So that was a 1123 donation, so maybe that means something to the sequence of nature and all that stuff. But thank you for that one. Karen's donated £3.83. Thank you for that, Karen. The message is, Hi Phil, thanks for being part of a rather exciting Saturday for me. Just a few hours ago I met Bret Hitman Hart and now I'm taking in the positive energy of your live stream. Looking forward to your interview with Steve Stevens. Rock on, Karen. So thank you for that. And I struggled reading that one, but probably the shock of Bret Hitman Hart and actually Karen meeting him, because we know that Karen is a huge wrestling fan and a fan of Bret Hitman Hart himself. I've mentioned about how, you know, I was really into the Ultimate Warrior. I always feel like when I say warrior that he's worried about lots of things, but he wasn't an Ultimate Warrior like that, but a warrior with a WA at the beginning, of course. But yeah, that was my favourite wrestler from back in the day. Thank you, Karen, for that. Scrolling up because Sue has donated £15. Thank you for that, Sue. And the message is, congratulations on the interview with Steve. So thank you for that as well. And yeah, we did get there in the end, which was great. Lauren has donated £25. Thank you for that, Lauren. The message is, spike the likes. Great idea there. If you haven't hit the thumbs up, it'd be massively appreciated if you could. We are trying to get to 385 tonight. 347 at the moment, which means we're looking for 38 maybe. I'm not sure if that's correct. That might be wrong, but I'm going to say we're looking for 38. Fingers crossed that is the right number. Francis has donated £15 and 34 pence as well. Thank you for that, Francis. The messages, spike those likes, guys. Great idea. Maybe, oh, there we go. I was going to say maybe we can get a few more to get to 350. That now makes it easier because it is 35 that we're looking for. Great. So thank you for that, Francis. Marge has donated £1 and 53 pence. Thank you for that. The message is, I like you explain the music so well. Thank you. With thumbs up, smiley face, and another thumbs up. So thank you for that, Marge. And Carla's donated £5.99 as well. Thank you for that, Carla. That is a straight up donation. And then Totoro Porco Richard has donated £3 as well. Thank you for that, Richard. The message is a contribution for your means and for thanks providing meaning to music. So thank you for that, Richard. And I mean, these donations do make a huge difference. Last night with the video, I mean, the fact that I spoke with Steve for an hour and a half, it meant that it's a lot of information to put onto the hard drive. And because when I do the interview videos, I mean, the quality's a little bit better. So it's kind of full HD, which is like, you know, 1260 by 1080 or something like that. So it means that it's just under a gigabyte on the software that I use. Unfortunately, when it gets compressed and records at the same time for like typical kind of YouTube format, which I can't remember what it is. I know that MP4 is what I then kind of compress it down to, but when compressing it and recording it at the same time, it goes jumpy. So it means that I have to record it at kind of Apple ProRes level, which means that it isn't compressed at all. And that's just under a gigabyte per minute. So, you know, that starts to fill up hard drives pretty quickly. So, yeah, the donations do make a huge difference for my hard drive fund, especially kind of for interviews, because those can go on for a very long time. And it's great to be able to just set the software recording and not worry about looking at the hard drive and how much it's filling up. That you think, oh, we've gone on for an hour, so that's going to be you know, like at least 60 gigabytes, and if it's going on for longer than that, 90 gigabytes. And you know, if I've got analysis videos on there and there's only like 100 gigabytes left, then you start, you know, panicking looking at that. So it's great that I can actually buy a hard drive and just have it designated for interviews, just to have, you know, like a terabyte on there, something or something, just allow that to run and then just deal with the footage later. So thank you for all of the donations, but thank you, Richard, for that one. James has donated £30 and 68 pence. Thank you for that, James. And the message is, Wings of Pegasus, Phil Henley. Indeed, that is correct. It's Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another live stream Saturday. Thank you for that, James. Just going to scroll up because Maria has donated £1 and 53 pence. So thank you for that. And the message is, spike the likes. How does it feel to sing in front of a lot of people? Journey used to have crowds with 70,000 people. So thank you for that, Maria. And I think it's something that the more you play, I mean, the more you get used to it. And I think to begin with, you might only play to like 10 people, and just playing to 10 people, you'll be really nervous, just, you know, because you might have only just practiced your guitar in your room or practiced singing in the rehearsal studio, and you haven't actually played in front of anybody. So you'll play to 10 people, and you might be a bit nervous doing that. But then the more you play, even, you know, you might play to 15 people, 20 people, and then 30 people. And if you're just consistently doing gigs, it means that you just become comfortable at playing live. To begin with, it'll feel really uncomfortable, but then the more you do it, the more comfortable it becomes. Exactly the same as, you know, practicing on your guitar. The more you practice, the more subconscious it becomes, and that goes for, you know, playing live. Obviously, when you start getting up to really big crowds, then, you know, you just have to try and, I mean, the way that I approached it, I mean, we started playing in front of, you know, maybe kind of, yeah, tens of people to maybe hundreds of people. And then, I mean, we entered a competition, a kind of a UK wide competition, which, you know, 10,000 bands entered into, and we finished third in that. And we got to play some really nice venues. And as the numbers went up, you know, I know that my, you know, second guitarist Griff would say, oh, I'm feeling really nervous about this performance, but it's how you approach it mentally. I think that if you approach it that you think there are loads of great guitarists in the audience and they're all going to be judging you on how you're playing, and maybe you think you're not very good and all that kind of stuff, then you're going to get really nervous. The way that I approach it myself is that I play the guitar the way that I play guitar. So if people like it, great. If they don't, it's not my problem, because I like the way that I play. So, I mean, especially, I mean, even going back to playing with Steve Stevens last night in the video, because, you know, he'd play something and then I'd do a little, you know, line on the guitar explaining what I'm talking about. But even something like that, when you're playing with a guy like Steve Stevens, who, you know, is one of the huge names, such an amazing player, I think a lot of people will feel nervous just being in a, you know, in the presence of a guy like Steve. And, yeah, I can certainly, you know, relate to that, you know, thinking about, you know, I mean, he's such a nice guy that he puts you at ease anyway, but a lot of people would be nervous about playing guitar in front of someone that they idolize and whose music they might know really well. And Steve is one of those that I think loads of people know his solos, and the fact that, you know, he's on the Bad album, you know, Michael Jackson, which I used to listen to when I was growing up, and, you know, my mum and dad would have that on in the car. So to think that I'm now chatting to the guy that I've been listening to when I was a kid, I can certainly relate to that. But still, it's the approach mentally to your own playing. Like, you know, when I was, you know, playing in front of Steve, I'm playing the guitar the way that I play it. So I don't really mind if people like it or not. I'm still just going to play it the exact same way. There's nothing for me to be nervous about, because I know that I'm just playing the way that I play. And that's just the level that I play at. I'm not trying to do something to try and impress somebody. I'm just playing how I play, which is exactly how every other guitarist plays. When Steve is playing, he's not nervous because he's playing how he plays, exactly the same as every other guitarist you're ever going to see. You'll very rarely see a top level guitarist or a guitarist that's very well known on stage messing up because they're nervous, because they're not bothered about impressing people. It's just about putting your own expression into the instrument and putting that expression across to an audience. And it doesn't matter if they don't like it, as long as you just play the way that you like to sound. So, yeah, I mean, that's how I approach it as a guitar player. But it's the same thing vocally. Just sing how you sing, and, you know, don't be nervous about it. But yeah, as the numbers do go up, I'm sure that if you're playing in front of like 70,000 people, and I think when I was at Wembley Arena as part of the X Factor competition, I wasn't nervous with that because I knew that I wasn't taking it seriously, that I was there to make a point about the TV show rather than trying to get through to the next round. So I wasn't nervous about, you know, performing in front of, I don't know how many, maybe 6,000. I'm not sure how many were there on the day at Wembley Arena, but I think it is around that kind of figure. So yeah, I wasn't particularly nervous about that, but I wouldn't have really been too nervous about it anyway, because you know, you just do your own thing live. If people like it, great. If they don't, then you know, it's up to them. But anyway, thank you for that, Maria. And I'm just going to scroll up, and Kevin has donated £1 as well, so thank you for that, Kevin. And the message is, Phil, maybe you can work out a deal with your song, Percy Johnson. Percy needs 2 million more. So thank you for that, Kevin. And yeah, I mean, I'm just going to have to leave that to Percy at the moment. It's not something that I can help him with, but maybe in the future. I did see it. Maybe Kevin said about creating a GoFundMe or something like that for Percy Johnson, but I think it's just up to him at the moment. We'll see what happens in the future. Thank you for that, Kevin. Marge has donated £1.53, so thank you for that, Marge. The message is, I bought a few very good music CDs from people I've seen on Facebook and YouTube, including Wings of Pegasus. So thank you for that, Marge. A plug of the CD. I have an album called Persistence, which is out there, and you can pick it up at wingspegasus.com/music. If you want to go there, download individual tracks, buy the album, it is up to you, but that's where you'll hear my guitar playing and my singing and my songs. So you can get that on iTunes and Amazon as well. But it's better for me if you go to my website, because then I don't have to give away a percentage. But thank you for mentioning that, Marge. Quick shout out. I didn't even plug the mug. What are we doing? So here's a plug of the mug. Any merchandise you want to get your hands on, you can do. If you can see the tray underneath this video, click on one of those for Wings Pegasus t-shirt, the hoodie, which is too hot for today, but the mugs, caps, all that kind of stuff. And there's other merchandise over at wingsofpegasus.com as well. We have the picks, the necklaces, all the stuff that Carla makes. I haven't mentioned that in a while, but that's all over at wingsofpegasus.com. /merch, I believe, but you'll be able to find it if you just type in wingsofpegasus.com. So, yes, thank you much for that. We are going to be jumping into the cover for tonight. Let's call it to a close. And amazingly, unfortunately, for the people that wanted to hear Miles Away, it looks like it has flipped over to Sweet Emotion, that has 50% of the vote, and that's going to be 50 point something, and Miles Away had 49 point something. So really close tonight. At some point we're going to hear Miles Away, I'm sure, but it is Sweet Emotion tonight. We're going to jump into this, and then we'll have to get straight into the picture and then the pick roulette, because we are at 3 minutes past 1 already, and it looks like we have just passed the likes goal. So thank you everyone for hitting that thumbs up. You can still do that, of course, if you're watching this live now, or if you're watching it on catch up and you're part of the catch up crew, you can still hit that thumbs up. It really helps the channel to get out there, and for these live streams to get out there, the channel to grow on the whole. So let's jump into Sweet Emotion featuring Chris Law. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and I'll see you guys in a second. Rock.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Talk about the
And there we have it. That was Chris and I with our version of Sweet Emotion. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Thank you for voting for that one on the poll tonight, and you guys over on Patreon for requesting it in the first place. So yes, I think somebody said, oh, is that a 12 string? And yes, Chris was playing a 12 string, I was playing the 6 string, and yeah, you can't beat the sound of a 12 string, and that's just kind of how I arranged it, and seems to have worked quite well, and I'm glad that you guys enjoyed that one. So moving forwards, we are going to be taking a look at this picture that we have, just one tonight, and let me find where it is. The pictures are always in a different place, but here it is Sandy with her tumbler. Hopefully that is showing up on screen, and I'm reliably informed by Vince that there was coffee in the tumbler and she's on her way to work. So thank you for that one, and for giving me a chance to plug the tumblers as well, because they keep your coffee hot or your cold drinks cold. So it's great for the summer and great for the winter. So if you want to head over to the spring.com store in the description below and pick up a tumbler, then you can do as well. I have one, and I have to admit that is used literally every day. If I have a cold drink, I put the ice in there. More often than not, I'm using it for my cup of tea, because I make a cup of tea and then get sidetracked doing something else, and then about an hour later I then realize, oh yeah, I made a cup of tea, and I go back to it and it's still hot. So that's what I use my tumbler for, so you can get your hands on that. But thank you for that, Sandy. So right, let me get organised in this, I think, pick roulette that we'll jump into. I will address the donations before we finish the live stream, so don't worry about that. I'm going to be jumping into the pick roulette. Haven't picked a top tip yet, but I will once that wheel is up on screen, and I'll see you guys in a second. Rock. So hopefully the wheel will appear on screen, and there it is. If this is your first pick roulette, the darker segments are the t-shirts. If we land on one of those, we have a t-shirt roulette. If we land on somebody's name, then we're going to be giving away the Wings of Pegasus signed pick, and they will take that home. Let me pick a top tip for tonight, and let's Larry Curran, was that? I'm not sure whether that's correct, but I'm going to write it down. Larry is the top tip for tonight, and I've kind of lost his name already, but let's give the wheel a spin and see who is going to win. And just for any new viewers, the top tip is the person that I think is going to win and never does win. I've got a 0% record of choosing that winner, so apologies to Larry for that. For tonight, but there's always the first time, so who knows, it could go around. We could see Larry's name, and we can't see his name unfortunately, but it is slowing down. We have Mark, maybe Alan. There we go. It's Alan or Aylin. I'm not sure. Hopefully the pronunciation was one of those two. But thank you everybody for entering the pick roulette, and commiserations to you, because it's Alan who has won tonight. So if you can let yourself be known in that live chat room, that would be fantastic, so that Carla can get everything that she needs from you in order to get the signed Wings of Pegasus pick sent off to you. And as I always say, if you want to increase your chances of winning and double your chances of winning, make sure that you tune in to the live streams on Tuesday nights as well, because we have live streams on Tuesdays and Saturdays, 12 midnight Greenwich Mean Time. So tune into both of them to double your chances of winning. And I'm trying to see if I can see that username, Alan's username, going through the live chat room. I can't see it yet, but I'll try and keep an eye on it. And just to mention as well, huge shout out to the moderators. I usually say that at the beginning, but I haven't said that yet. and they do such a fantastic job. I can see that Susan and Dennis are about to go through in that live chat room, but also we have Carla in there and Laurie, and we have Neil in there. So thank you guys so much for doing a great job during the live streams, and especially with the bots that now get involved, which is probably a good sign of the popularity of the live streams, even though it's a bit of a pain that they get involved. But thank you guys for moderating so effectively over, probably about 3 years that I've been doing the live streams without missing one. So thank you for giving up your time on a Saturday night and a Tuesday night. So anyway, we are going to be moving forward with the live stream and pretty much calling things to a close pretty soon. It's 12 minutes past 1 here, so I'm going to open the entries for next week's Pick Roulette, and in order to enter we go at Carla Murray. So we're going to tag Carla in our comment and type I agree like that, and I didn't do the capital letters for Carla. Let me just make sure that it is kind of official like that, official or official. I agree. There we go. Right, so if you want to get your name on the Pick Roulette next week, make sure that you do what I've done in that live chat room, and I think what everybody else is about to do in the live chat room. Just have a look in there, copy what everyone's typing, and then your name will be on the Pick Roulette wheel next week, and then you'll have a chance of winning the signed Wings of Pegasus pick, or even a t-shirt. If we do land on those t-shirt segments, then we go through to the t-shirt roulette, and then somebody wins a signed custom-made Wings of Pegasus t-shirt. So copy what everybody's doing here. Right, we've got a few minutes left. What I'm going to do is just address the donations before we finish. So we had Stardust Unicorn again that donated $2 in the super chat window. Thank you for that. And the message was, for Ultimate Warrior fans, check out Firepower 1993. So thank you for that. And Jim has donated $30 in that super chat window. Thank you for that, Jim. And that is a straight up donation. So thank you for all of those donations in the super chat window tonight. And I'm just going to have a quick look over to the PayPal window, because there are a few in there that I haven't addressed yet. It's Laura who has donated £15. Thank you for that, Laura. And that is a straight up donation. And just scrolling up, because Daniel, or Danar, who was mentioned in that last live stream, has donated £3.83. Thank you for that, Dan. The message is, hi Phil, can you tell us about the reverb and chorus features on guitar amps? Why are these two features so common? So thank you for that, Dan. And I'll try and... This is one of those questions, of course. I could go on for years talking about different effects on amps, but generally, reverb is just one of those that always started to get put onto the amp because of simulating a space. Like in real life, you never have a matte finish to your sound, like a totally dry sound. Sound waves, unless you are out in the desert where you shout and the sound waves just go away from you and they don't hit anything. So you don't get any kind of reflection or reverberation where you are. So it means that when you're in, even in a studio, in any kind of room, in a hall, as you know, if you're in a cave, under a bridge, you'll hear the reverberations or the reverberation of your voice in that location. So they start to put that, because the same thing will happen with your guitar or any instrument in an acoustic space. So putting reverb on your guitar sound, or specifically here that we're talking about guitar amps, is making your guitar sound more natural, giving it an acoustic space for it to sit in if the space that you're sitting in doesn't sound very good. And it means that you can dial that in. If you've got a direct output from your amp, you can then use headphones and dial in that reverb in order to get that sound. But it's just something that started to happen automatically, rather than imagine having to go to, and this is something that Les Paul did when he recorded, and he built his recording studio and then went into a cave, or he actually chipped away at a cliff, made his own cave to get the kind of reverb or the sound that he wanted on his guitar. And putting reverb on the amp means that you now don't have to go and make a cave. So it's a lot quicker just to get an assimilation, is that the right word for it, but an approximation of what a cave would sound like, having that reverb on there. So it's a lot easier to have it as an option on an amp. So yeah, that was really popular because it's something that's so difficult to manipulate in the real world, because you're talking about an acoustic space. Every acoustic space is different. So putting it on the amp just makes it now something you can dial in. So reverb and chorus, generally with clean tones, chorus, it's just one of those things that a lot of people add. It just adds so much to the sound, and it gives you that imperfection, those microtones of imperfection within the sound, but it doesn't effectively change your pitch, but it is giving you the effective microtones above and below your sound in chorus, and it's just going to thicken out your tone. So this is why when you're playing on a clean tone, you add a little bit of chorus to it, you're now going to get more frequency than you did previously, and it's just going to sound fuller. And I mean, everybody just likes, generally it always comes back to, and it goes to what people like and what people start to automatically apply to particular tones. Reverb is one, chorus is another. And you can even go further. I mean, on amps, you'll find, flanger as well. You'll find delay is quite a popular one. You'll find that on most amps. As when I'm talking about guitar amps, these are effects that get dialed in by most guitarists. So yeah, they tend to now actually put them into the heads of the amp. For example, my Line 6 HD 150, and that's a Spider 3 HD 150. That's got, from memory, it's too far away for me to actually be able to see it, but it's got chorus, flanger, echo, delay. I mean, I think they might call it echo when it's actually delay, but I think there's a tape echo that they call it as well, which is like a tape delay, which again has that little tweak of the pitch of what you're listening to. It's just going to just affect your sound ever so slightly with those microtones, sharp and flat. But yeah, it gives a really interesting sound. It does have that tape sound to it where you get that wobble effectively. Anyway, yeah, it's just the most popular ones at the time. And yeah, back in the day, it used to be reverb, and then chorus came along, and distortion pretty much is something, I haven't mentioned that, but you pretty much always got a clean channel and then distortion. So you got that choice between those two channels on, most amps. I'm talking, pretty much from, the 70s onwards, when, in the late 60s, where they're trying to get more and more distortion by just, then using an actual pedal, and then the pedals started to get included, or you didn't need a pedal, it started to get included in the amps, and that was the clean channel and the distortion channel, or the dirty channel, depending whatever you call it. So thank you for that, Dan. Just going to scroll up because Tortola Porco has donated £10. Thank you for that, Richard. The message is £3 is not enough for a gigabyte of data. Here is a bit more to help back up your interview with Steve. So thank you for that, Richard. Much appreciated. And Chris has donated £3.83. Thank you for that, Chris. And that's a straight up donation. And Diane has donated £10. Thank you for that, Diane. The message is, thanks for these live streams and for answering all types of questions. Have you eaten a proper meal today, with a smiley face? Yes, I have. I had macaroni cheese. That is what it's called, that I couldn't think of. Maybe a couple of live streams ago. I said it's something that they have in America. It's got pasta in it. Macaroni cheese with bacon. That's what I had earlier. And it was very nice indeed. It's just a microwave meal, but it was very good. I saw that at the shops and thought, that's worth a try. And I had it. And yeah, so this is, I think, either the second time or the third time that I've had it, probably in the last 3 weeks. So it's turning into just something that I have every week because I do like it quite a lot. Thank you for that, Diane. And Karen has donated £19.17. Thank you for that, Karen. And the message is, thanks for these shows, Phil. And thank you, Karen. No problem. As I've always said, if I keep getting requests, I'll keep on making these videos. Just while I'm mentioning about donations, I have pre-ordered my new Mac Studio computer, which came in at just over £4,100. So, and thank you guys so much for all of your donations that were specifically for that. So I think that works out as maybe just over $6,000. So, I mean, it is definitely something that's an investment for the future because it's going to be available at the end of July. So I'm still with my same setup for quite a few more weeks, but it means that at the end of July I'm now set with the kind of most modern setup that I can get. So I've had this Mac. This was a 2013 Mac Pro that I'm using at the moment. So it's almost 10 years old. When I'm thinking about, getting that Mac Studio, it means that potentially it's going to be maybe 9 or 10 years into the future that at least I'll be, is it called technology proof? No, future proof with technology. That's what I will be, hopefully, for the coming years. So it is an investment. It's a lot of money. It's basically a car, but in a computer. That's kind of the same that it costs, but is definitely an investment. And with your help, it means that I have been able to buy that computer that is up to date rather than having to get maybe an older computer that's second hand, that's a bit cheaper. It just means that I have been able to, be able to stretch to that Mac Studio with your very kind donation. So thank you guys so much for that. I thought I'd just mention it, that I have pre-ordered it and it will be here towards the end of July, at between I think 29th of July to the 11th of August. So I'll just be waiting for the delivery at that point. Of course, I'll let you guys know when that happens. Right. We are up to date with those donations. I am going to be calling things to a close because it's 23 minutes past 1 here in the morning. And just quickly, Orlando donated $5 as well. Thank you for that, Orlando. The message is, quick question. Would you wear hearing protection during performances in the future to protect your hearing? Yes, I do. I have done since the age of, I think, 24, 25, something like that. Yeah, I wear in-ear. I have in-ear monitors, but they are just earplugs in themselves. So I just take the in-ear monitoring part out of it and use those earplugs. And that's if I'm going to pretty much any event where there's going to be loud music. If there's going to be like a party or like my sister's wedding, I was wearing earplugs then. If I go to watch any gigs, I wear them. So yeah, I am very conscious of my hearing, just because I have tinnitus on a very low level at the moment, and I don't want to make that any worse. So thank you for that, Orlando. And 33.8 has donated $5. Thank you for that. The message is, really love the Macy Gray and Harmony Explainer. Do you know 5 Seconds of Summer or 5 Seconds of Summers? Curious your analysis of their Killer Queen cover / other harmonies. So thank you for that. And I don't actually know them other than I was at an event with them at some point, which is like a celebrity football event thing. And this is probably about 9 years ago, 8 or 9 years ago. And I know that 5 Seconds of Summers or 5 Second of Summer were one of the teams. So they were playing in one of the celebrity football teams at the event that I was at. So anyway, that's all I know of them. So I just knew that I was potentially, talking with these people, but I didn't know who they were. So I will, maybe have to check them out and check out their music. But thank you for that, 33.8. So we are going to be calling things to a close now. So thank you guys for tuning in to this live stream and for tuning into the channel in general, hitting that thumbs up, which of course you can keep on doing. We're at 416 likes, which is amazing. But looking at you guys in the catch-up crew as well, you can keep on hitting that thumbs up. It really does help the channel to grow and for these live streams to get out there a little bit more. So the jury's out for tomorrow night's video. It might be the Chris Lee Pay video. I'm going to probably message Chris tomorrow and mention or see that if he thinks it's a good idea to release it tomorrow night. I mean, Sunday night's historically quite a good day because people aren't working. More people might be able to check it out. So I might release part 1 tomorrow night. And there's definitely going to be a video of some sort, whether it's an analysis video or, I mean, that is the collaboration analysis. But I'm starting to lean towards maybe releasing it, considering the fact that it doesn't matter because the ad revenue is going to be held. So it means that you're not doing it, or I'm not doing anything illegal by releasing that publicly, and we just have to wait for that copyright claim to then get removed, and then it'll be all good to go anyway. And I think it's just copyright claimed at the moment. It's not copyright blocked, so it is something that I can release. If I can release it, I probably will do, and then we'll just have to wait till maybe next month for the part 2 of it. But anyway, that's just the way it's going to work. Unfortunately, with the copyrights, we have to wait 30 days. So thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I'll see you at tomorrow night's video. As I always say, stay sane if that's at all possible. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and thank you for all of your kind donations tonight, and you moderators for doing such a great job during these live streams. Big shout out to them. But I will catch you guys tomorrow night. I'm going to be live streaming Tuesday night, as always, same time, same place, 12 midnight Greenwich Mean Time. But have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!